Let's refresh on what's at issue today. You all have moved for your motion to remand Mr. Rosa to the Miami-Dade Regional Juvenile Detention Center. I've given you an opportunity to present facts to support the allegations that were in your memorandum filed on November 17. We did have an earlier hearing where you presented some witnesses. Ms. Baueroff, the date of that hearing?
It was December 1st.
I think so. I think you're right. We heard from a number of people.
Judge, that was December 5.
I beg your pardon?
Let me see, Judge. December 1st, Judge.
December 1st. We heard from Corporal Williams at length. Cornelius, is it? Maldonado. And a number of your witnesses then. And I afforded you an opportunity to present additional evidence in support of the allegations contained in your memorandum. And I think that's what we're here for. I have one other motion that got filed about a week ago, but I haven't heard anything about it from counsel. There's a motion to a motion for protective order. So we'll deal with that after the address. And a motion for transfer. Do you have evidence you want to present today, Mr. Lewis?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Call your next witness.
At this time, the defense would recall Mr. Williams.
Corporal Wood.
Corporal Williams.
Okay.
Yes, I'm here.
All right, I'm going to ask you to start your video, sir. All right. Can you tell us your name again, sir, for the record?
Cyrus Williams.
All right. Are you a corporal?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good enough. All right, sir, I previously sworn you, but I'm going to do it again. Could you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir. You may proceed, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor. Can we give Nick Rodriguez, who's on Zoom, access to share his screen, Your Honor, please?
You know what? It makes it a little bit difficult to do all of that, but because I've got a witness on the screen.
And we'd like to invoke the rule, Your Honor.
Does that include, because previously they've indicated that the defendant's father, who's in the gallery, might be a witness, as well as the grandmother, so they're invoking the rule of sequestration. I'm assuming that's what they're referring to.
Do you anticipate calling, do you have any witnesses that you may call that are in the room?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. I rely upon counsel to make sure any witnesses that you have that may testify are not present during the testimony of others. Now, are there people on the Zoom screen that you anticipate will be called as witnesses?
I'm not sure who's on Zoom, Your Honor.
Well, let's check. Take a look. You all have a screen to look at. If you need to, you can use my monitor up here.
I believe they've subpoenaed Sandra Orozco, who's on the Zoom, Judge. I don't know who that is, but she's on the Zoom. I don't know who these other people, some of these other people are.
Well, let's work as best we can. I mean, this is new technology, and I think what we want to do is have the witnesses who are on the screen. I'll want to place them in a breakout room until we need to call it. What do you think, Mr. Riello? Anybody you can identify here that we need to ask to go into a breakout room?
Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning.
Only Miss Sandra Orozco.
Okay. And Mr. Orozco, can you hear me?
Yes, Your Honor.
Hi, Mr. Orozco. We have, you're over at Jackson Health. Nice to see you.
Yes.
Have you been in court before?
Never.
Okay. Well, one of the things we do is we don't let witnesses hear other witnesses' testimony. We don't want it influenced by anybody, okay?
Okay.
Okay, can you tell me what Mr. Roscoe is appearing for?
Should we haven't subpoenaed anybody today?
How about you guys? Can you tell me why Mr. Roscoe is on our screen?
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Orozco is part of the CHS team, and she is one of the persons that works with Dr. Bedica, who is also testifying this morning or this afternoon, whenever we get to her. And she has seen our client, and I believe that her testimony is very relevant to the last piece of information that Your Honor wanted to present in this evidentiary hearing, which is his current state of mind, how that could possibly be exacerbated by the conditions that he's being housed under, and things of that nature.
Okay, well, we're about to hear evidence from someone about the conditions under which he's housed, which I imagine it would be important for someone who's rendering an opinion with regard to state of mind to have the actual accurate facts at hand. Might help them to actually round out their opinion. I'm inclined to allow her to remain.
We don't really have an objection to that. It's just that Corporal Wims testified in detail about so many of those things in the last hearing. I'm not sure why he's being recalled. I don't know how much of that
Well,
will
we'll
come
find
out.
out. We'll find that out
That's
in a
fine.
moment. But
Yes, sir.
I'm going to excuse her from the rule of sequestration because, candidly, I think I would want her to know what Corporal Wims has to say.
Okay. And Your Honor, the only witness we anticipate maybe using is Detective Golosky. I just sent him a message, but in the event I don't notice when he walks in, I just told him to
Well,
wait
in
in the
my discretion, I'm going to release him from the rule as well.
Okay, great.
Okay? I mean, he's the one law enforcement officer who has most knowledge about all of the events and statements from all of the individuals throughout this case. For purposes of this hearing, utilizing the discretion that's afforded to me under 90 point, help me out, is it 916?
Yes.
That's what I thought. I'm going to go ahead and excuse him. All right, you have Corporal Wims. He has been sworn. Let me spotlight him so that everybody can see him well. And there you go. You may inquire, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Corporal Wims.
Good morning, sir.
Before I begin, is there anyone in the room with you?
No, there isn't. Let's see. No.
Okay. Corporal, when we were last here on December 1st, I know you testified as to a lot of specifics regarding Derek's housing. Has there been an update to his level or status since that hearing?
No. I think the last time we spoke, I believe I told you that he was a level 3, and he's still a level 3, and he's still doing fine. He's still coming out for recreation, still eating, still doing group.
Have there been any issues since December 1st?
Issues with him?
Yes.
No issues. I would say Rosa is very compliant.
You testified at the last hearing that the training for your unit was ongoing. Have you had any training since December 1st?
Like I stated, one of the officers from TGK that had been in the juvenile unit for some years, he's actually stationed here now. So, like I say, the training is still ongoing.
And when you say ongoing, what type of training have you received since December 1st?
Like I say, it's just still ongoing. Like, he's a person that's established at TGK, and he's still establishing things with the staff that's currently there now. I know with our training department for the department, we're trying to have some training go on every single shift for the department.
Have you guys met in groups and discussed the housing of juveniles or the status of the new wing?
You were breaking up. I really didn't hear what you were saying.
You mentioned that you have ongoing training. Have you guys met as a group, as a team, to discuss the new wing and the current housing situation?
Yeah, I mean, the line of communication between me and the different shifts is open. We're currently emailing each other. I sit back, I actually work the afternoon shift for maybe 1 or 2 hours, just talking to staff, meeting with staff, and I'm currently always meeting with day shift staff.
Mr. Wims, or Corporal Wims, I'm sorry, do you know if your jail is accredited?
Yes, I believe. I'm not sure. But I believe Metro West is accredited.
Do you know by whom?
I'm sorry, excuse me?
Do you know who accredits Metro West?
It's not FMJS.
I'm asking you, sir.
Well, I will tell you right now, I'm not 100% sure, so I would say no, I don't know.
Have you had a chance to review the site check logs since our last hearing?
I've looked over some of them. I haven't went over every single site check, no.
And since the last hearing, has the state contacted you?
No.
Now, at the last hearing, you testified as to the conditions and what a regular day would be like for a level 3 inmate. And I understand that Mr. Rosa is still a level 3 inmate today. Can you tell the court what the difference is between a level 3 and a level 4 inmate would be on a daily basis?
I think our medical staff will probably be best fit to speak about the mental health levels that we have.
Okay, do they get more hours of rec time?
Again, I think our mental health, CHS would be better off speaking on it.
Well, let's go through a level 3 day.
I'm sorry.
At what time? Yeah, at what time do the lights go off at your jail?
The floor closes on midnight shift after head count. So that would be after, midnight shift starts at 11 o'clock. So after they're done doing head count, Monday through Thursday, the floor will close at 11. Friday and Saturday to 1:30.
Is that 1:30 in the morning?
Yes, sir.
What time are the inmates given breakfast?
You say what time are they giving breakfast? I'm sorry, sir. Can you repeat what you're saying? I didn't hear you.
Yes, Corporal. What time are the inmates given breakfast?
I'll check into that for you. I'm primarily on the day shift. But I can get the answer for you though. That's not a big deal.
Okay, what time are they given lunch?
Lunch is around like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock.
And then dinner?
Dinner usually around like 6 o'clock.
Okay, I'm going to show you now, virtually I guess, what has been marked as Defense Exhibit 1. I'm sorry, A1.
You haven't shown any to us, so we haven't seen any defense exhibits today. Thank you. This is like 200 pages. Would have been nice to see it before since we've been sitting here, but okay.
You should have a copy.
I don't know what it is. It's 200 pages. Is this just the 10-minute logs? Okay. But can you show it to like us to introduce the evidence?
Wims, I'm now showing you what has been pre-marked as Defense Exhibit A1 on the screen. Do you see that, sir?
I'm sorry. Are you trying to share something on the screen?
Yes, Your Honor.
Any
objections to this claim?
I'm
I mean,
not
you have to
sure
lay
I
the
can
record.
spotlight him and allow you to share screen.
They're not in
Let's
evidence.
check.
Here you go, Judge.
All right. I'm going to allow share screen. But where do we go from here? Who's going to share?
Nick Rodriguez, Your Honor.
I beg your pardon?
Nick Rodriguez, Your Honor.
All right. Can you see that, Corporal Wims?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. All right. And I take it, by the way, you're seeking to introduce these as evidence?
Yes, Your Honor.
Since we have it on the screen. State.
They
Judge,
have.
is there a business record certificate or something that they want to produce? We haven't been able to, they just handed it to us, Judge, it's so many pages, I haven't been able to really look through it, so I'm hoping that that's just the logs, but I don't know.
Your Honor, it's just the logs.
They appear to be.
Your Honor, since you're the fact finder and these appear to be the logs that have
They
already been sent
appear-
to all of us,
They
then
appear to be sufficient.
we have no
enough, then
objection.
I don't know if they're complete or not.
Right.
Certainly, you can take a look at it, and you have a complete set. As I look at them now, they do appear to be in chronological order, starting October 26th and ending November 22 or so, which is consistent with what was provided back on December 1st by the Department of Corrections.
No
All right, I'll
objection.
go ahead and admit them for this, for the purpose of this hearing.
Defense Exhibit A1 marked for ID will become Defense Exhibit A.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, so I see on the screen, we're looking at the first page, that's October 26, 23. I've reviewed these, by the way, already. This looks like the physical site check sheet that's required under the statute, that there be supervisory personnel checking on Mr. Rosa every 10 minutes. Is that what I'm looking at here, Mr. Lewis?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Continue.
You can take it off the screen, Nick. For now. Now, I noticed over the holiday weekend on November 10th, Corporal Wims, that the 10-minute checks were done via watch tour. Can you explain to the court what that means?
The watch tour is a system that we have that we use tablets to scan barcodes to log information. Basically, a computerized physical site check sheet. I guess that's the simplest way to explain it.
And is that something new in that unit?
Prior to the juveniles coming, no.
I'm sorry, what is that new to the unit or?
Prior to the juveniles coming to Metro West, no. That's something that we use while the adults were being housed in there. Once the juveniles came and we were doing individual 15-minute site check sheets. But as Rosa on the 26th, and I believe till he became a level 3, Rosa had the 15-minute site check sheets done on him individually.
Understood. Now, I see you're wearing a jacket today. Were you able to figure out the temperature in there?
Nah, I still don't know the temperature inside SMU. It was a little rainy outside today though, so yeah, I put a jacket on.
But you're inside now, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Has the number of juvenile inmates in the unit changed since December 1st?
Yes, I believe we lost one and then we gained another one like 2 days ago. Like 2 days ago.
So it's still 34 inmates, including Derek?
No, I believe it's 31. I have to look at today's roster to give you an exact number.
And how many correctional officers are there on the shift?
4 officers, a one-on-one for Rosa, and a corporal.
So 6 total for what you believe is 31 inmates?
Yes, sir.
What time does the day shift begin, Corporal?
7 to 3.
Were you guys short-staffed on 11/10 on the long weekend?
I'm sorry, can you repeat?
Do you know if you were short-staffed on the long weekend of November 10th?
I will have to refer to the roster that was done for that shift.
Can you do that now, or do you have that handy now?
No, I do not have the current roster done.
Okay. Is there a reason why we would be missing certain dates on the 10-minute check logs?
You say, would there be a reason why we would be missing certain dates?
Right, certain logs.
No, all the logs should either be present or we will have to go through the file room to try to find those current logs.
One second, Your Honor. I have nothing further for this witness, Your Honor.
Ms. Morales, do you, or Ms. Ho, do you have cross-examination of this witness?
Just a couple things.
Sure.
Morning, Corporal Williams. Just want to make sure it's still morning, Your Honor.
Good morning, how you doing, ma'am? I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name.
Kathleen Hogue, Assistant State Attorney.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm fine. How are you this morning?
I'm doing all right.
Okay. Just a couple questions, sir. Just want to make sure that nothing has changed with Derek Rosa since you last testified, and you have been able to see Mr. Rosa on a daily basis. Is that correct?
Yes.
And he's still level 3, still eating,
Yes, ma'am.
going to recreation,
Yes, ma'am.
and doing the individual group therapy.
Yes, ma'am.
Is he still reading?
Yes, still reading.
Okay. Now, I know we had a problem with the phone calls that Mr. Rosa was making or not able to make because of his PIN number. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. As of December 7th, has his PIN number been reset, and in fact, his voice has been activated and he was able to make a phone call to his father?
I know we've reset Rosa's PIN a few times because of issues that he's had with it. When I spoke with him, I believe Rosa told me he had reached out to his father, to his family. But I know as a definite, from, I would say, the 18th or the 21st, he's been like confirmed talking to his dad, using the phone every single day.
Okay. Our information was that as of the 7th, okay, in fact, a corrections officer, Lawrence, actually sat with him so that he was able to make a complete phone call to his father. Were you aware of that?
Like I said, I know he told me that he used the phone and he had reached out to, I believe, like I said, his dad. But I know we did have ongoing issue with the pen that at this point has been corrected, and he's been advised not to share his pen with anyone, and he's been using the phone on a daily basis.
Thank you, officer.
All right, before we go on or any redirect, does anybody have an objection to me talking with Corporal Rick Williams and getting some updates?
Not from the defense, Your Honor.
So, Corporal, here's what I gathered the last time we talked. I want to get an update from you. You just indicated that you have 31 inmates, and you indicated 4 officers, 1 corporal, and then you said 1 for Rosa. Is there an officer that is in the unit that is dedicated to the supervision of Mr. Rosa?
Yes, sir.
Is that on all 3 shifts?
Yes, sir.
What is their responsibility?
Pretty much to watch Rosa around the clock, make sure that if he needs something, he gets it within the guidelines of what MDCR can provide, and pretty much just to make sure he's okay. If he moves, they move.
Okay, so they're available 24/7 should he need anything or want anything.
Yes, sir.
All right. They're concerned, I'm sure, about his physical well-being as well as his mental health.
Yes, sir.
How often is he checked by someone for mental health stability or any concerns about mental health?
All 3 shifts, but let's just say that supervisor or any staff member feels as if there's an issue with Mr. Rosa's mental health. That officer will call the clinic, and then a mental health representative will come from the clinic to evaluate Mr. Rosa. If any issue or anything they felt like, okay, well, hold on, that's a little different, that may need to be addressed, or that, that's out of the norm for Rosa, or a red light for staff, they would do that protocol to have him seen by medical.
Is that becoming an issue? Has that been an issue in this case? Are you finding any warning signs with regard to any mental health concerns?
No mental health concerns with Mr. Rosa.
Okay.
Flourishing, if I would say.
All right. When we spoke last, you indicated that there are 2 instructors from Miami-Dade schools who come to the unit during the week. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Is that continuing to happen?
Yes, sir.
Are they providing educational services to Mr. Rosa?
Yes, sir.
All right. How much time per day, Monday through Friday, does he have access to, or are these instructors working with him?
They have their own schedule. Miami-Dade School Board has created a schedule that they pull and test every inmate that we have, every juvenile inmate that we have in our current custody. So as far as him individually, I will have to look at their logs, which they don't provide us their logs. They have to be requested, I believe, public record from the school board. We don't have those logs with us.
Do you interact with them?
With Mr. Rosen?
No, with the school board people.
Yeah, I speak with them, ask them how they're doing, if there's anything we can do to help them, or I may get your opinion on an inmate or something like that, yeah.
Have any of them brought any concerns to you about Mr. Rosa, his physical well-being, or his mental health?
No, sir.
And I think the only other thing I wanted to ask you about was, as now a level 3 detainee, is there anything different about his commissary access now than from any other level 3 detainee?
No, as a level 3, he has full access to commissary.
Okay. The one person one corrections officer that's assigned to him, where do they physically sit? Where are they when Mr. Rosa is present?
If he's inside of his cell, they're physically sitting directly in front of his door.
Okay, so they're right outside his door and his cell, a single individual in the cell. He's not sharing that with anybody?
No, he's in a single man cell.
And these are the cells that are around the perimeter of this open area.
Yes.
When I read in your reports that he's in the day area, that's the common area of the unit,
Yes, sir.
where there's another, where he would be in the presence of yet another corrections officer.
He would be in the presence of all of our correctional staff when he's in the day
When
room.
he's in the day room. Okay.
Yes.
So for physical well-being, when he's in the day room, he's got 3 or 4 corrections officers nearby. And when he's in his cell or in his bed, he's got a corrections officer posted immediately outside the door.
When he's in his cell, yes, immediately out the door, and where he's actually stationed is right in front of the officer's station. So at any given time, that one officer that is assigned to him, plus another 4 officers may also be in that area.
Okay. Are there any restrictions? Now, you had told us before that most of the day area time, at least at this time in your unit, is during the afternoon shift between 7 and 11.
Yes, because the inmates are doing school.
Right. Are there any restrictions during the day, during that shift, that would preclude him or keep him from being in the day area?
We have him under protective custody, so during the daytime, he just wouldn't be able to come out for school with another 2 or 3 inmates. So the teachers will pull him individually for school. Other than that, no.
What about in the afternoon shift? Is there any restriction on him being out in the day area?
No restriction. Once again, just pull, from a protective custody, just pull by itself.
Okay, does that mean he becomes the only person in the day area, or that you have to escort him from the cell into the day area?
Well, he would always be escorted whenever he's coming out of the cell, but yeah, he will be the only person that would be in the day room. Recently, trying to slowly reintegrate him, we've allowed inmate Lopez, who Rosa knows, I guess since he's been housed with us, that will come out and pretty much interact with Rosa.
All right, so here's my concern. I'm looking through these logs. Now, these logs end 3 weeks ago, okay? Is there a potential for him to be at, now, your day room is open from about 3:30 until about 11, is that right?
Yes.
Is there potential that he will have that full 6-7 hours of opportunity to be out in the day room?
Well, he wouldn't get the full 6-7 hours, in the day room. Obviously, since he's in our protective custody, we wouldn't let him out with another group of inmates, especially our juvenile inmates, with them having keep separates and, having put in, I guess you would say, a precaution put in place, because juveniles are very sporadic and, they don't always think things through. We do groups, so it may be a group of 4, a group of 5. That group of 4 will go up, we'll pull out another group of 4, a group of 5. We've made accommodations for Rosa since he has that one-on-one officer with him, to where if we have an indoor rec group that's in our indoor rec, we'll have that officer escort Rosa to the rec yard, or to our larger rec yard, to where he can also get his out-of-cell time as well as the other inmates that are housed in that area get their out-of-cell time.
Sorry to interrupt you.
No.
Sorry to interrupt, Mr. Lewis. If that engenders any, well, you're entitled to redirect.
Yeah,
but
I
if that
have just a
engenders
couple
any
questions
further questions
also.
from you may go ahead. Yeah. Thank you, Corporal.
No problem, sir.
Corporal Williams, you mentioned an inmate Lopez.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Has the defendant been able to interact with inmate Lopez?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. In fact, this last week, was the defendant allowed to play basketball with one of the inmates?
Yes, he was able to go out with inmate Lopez and play basketball. They played catch together, a little football.
Okay, so that kind of interaction.
Yes, ma'am.
One moment, Your Honor. Thank you.
Mr. Lewis, you're entitled to redirect. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor. Before I do so, I don't think there's an objection to moving into evidence what has been previously marked for identification as Defense Exhibit A3. It's a jail call-up from October 26th through December 5th. It's just a longer date range than the one that was previously entered into evidence by the state.
Any objections, State?
As long as it's complete, no objection, Judge.
Let's take a look. It appears to be, and I have copies of this that we got last week. as
No
well.
objection, sir.
Admitted.
Defense Exhibit A3 marked for ID will become Defense Exhibit B.
Corporal, what level is inmate Lopez?
Inmate Lopez is also a level 3.
And how old is inmate Lopez?
Inmate Lopez is 17 years old.
Now, you mentioned or you testified on December 1st that Mr. Derek had been to class 6 to 7 times. You remember that?
I believe that, yeah. I believe I remember that, yes.
And it's your testimony today that he's been going to school regularly since then, correct?
Yes.
But you can't tell the court how many times.
No, that is solely based off Miami-Dade School Board. They have their schedules. We only assist by making sure that the inmate is ready to go to school and by pulling the inmate out for school.
Now, do you remember testifying during cross when asked by the state how many calls Derek had made and for how long? Do you remember that?
No, I don't believe I told you how long, but I know that based off the conversations that I had with Rosa, he had used the phone, yes.
So you testified based on conversations that you had with Rosa, not on your review of the records of the call logs, correct?
Repeat that last part for me one more time.
When you testified on December 1st about how many calls Derek had made and for how long, you testified based on your conversations with Derek and not your review of the call logs, correct?
Yeah, I don't believe I told you how many calls and how long that he had been on the phone. But I know in a conversation that I had with Derek, he mentioned to me that he had used the phone, and then he was telling me that he had an issue with his pen.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Anybody else have anything further, Corporal Williams? Ms. Riel, did you have more you to inquire?
May I do so? Or
Well, I'll open it up for you. If there's additional questions you have, go ahead, Mr. Lewis.
Corporal Williams, is it Francisco Lopez, the inmate that played basketball with Derek?
Yes.
Nothing further.
Okay, thank you. All right. Thank you, Corporal, for joining us.
Thank you, Judge.
Could you call your next witness, please?
Yes, Your Honor. At this time, defense calls Counselor Maldonado.
Yeah, Counselor Maldonado is here in person, live.
I believe she's on Zoom, Your Honor.
Okay, Pastor John, you confused me. Well, she's on Zoom. I don't see her.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I don't see her in the courtroom, Your Honor, so we'll move on to
Okay, let's call a witness that we can actually access.
Instructor Charles.
Is that first name or last name?
That's the last name, Your Honor.
What's Instructor Charles' first name?
I'm not sure what her first name is.
All right. Was that person subpoenaed to be here in person, or would we expect to find them on the screen?
Zoom. Over Zoom, Your Honor.
On the Zoom. Okay. And this inspector works for whom?
For Miami-Dade Public Schools.
Here we go. Do we have somebody who works for Miami-Dade Public Schools, Instructor Charles, with us? Nope. All right. But I tell you what. Let's move on to your next witness, and when we take the lunch break, you'll have an opportunity to reach out to them telephonically and ask them if they would respect their subpoena.
We'll do it, Your Honor.
Okay.
Is there a Instructor Odin online?
I'm not seeing anybody come up. Anybody from Miami-Dade Public Schools on our Zoom call? Again, you can reach out to them over the lunch break, so you can get them this afternoon. Who else would you care to call?
Your Honor, at this time, I'm inclined to take a break. I was going to call next Dr. Bedica. I understand that she went across the street to get some food. So I'm not sure if Ms. Orozco is still on the Zoom call.
Yes, I do have her.
However, I wanted to call Dr. Bedica in order to lay some of the foundation for
All right.
Ms. Orozco's
Will
testimony.
we be having the doctor live?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Are there other matters that we can address or witnesses we can take prior to her, or do you have any objection to a break at this time?
Judge, we don't have an objection to the break. You had mentioned there was another motion that you wanted to address. I'm not sure if that's now or later.
It's the defense filed a motion, and if they want me to hear it today, I can do that. That's your motion for protective order.
Judge, we can continue with the evidentiary here and deal with the
Okay,
motion at
we'll
the
deal with
end.
that at the end.
May I ask the court, in the event that for some reason the two instructors and the counselor, Ms. Maldonado, are not showing today, may I recall Corporal Williams to go through some of the testimony that we were going to inquire of them?
Sure. Corporal Williams, don't go far. We may need you this afternoon, okay?
Would Your Honor allow me to do the inquiry?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right.
I mean, he's already testified that he doesn't work for the schools and he doesn't have direct supervision or access to that, but, you know.
Ma'am, I'm going to give both sides the opportunity to present evidence they believe is relevant to these issues.
Understood, Judge.
Okay? All right. Well, in light of we don't have our next witness, let's go ahead and take a lunch break till 12:45, if you would. And we'll be in recess till 12:45.
You said before you make an objection to the jail testimony. These were the same ones from 12-1 to say that this is not happening on Saturday. And then it's the one, I just touched it. I just figured from the profile. Same thing as before. And this is the jail registration this morning. And then, and then the last thing was the school readings that I showed you. The convection fees was business record certificate. Okay, all right. I take that as a yes. So you don't have objections to these two, is that correct?
No objection to the commissary.
And the relevance of this is the 4 factors that you're talking about from the Jacksonville case. One of them was his emotional educational background, so that's why that was his school records to show. You said no objection to
No, I
this,
do
right?
object to these ones.
You do.
Based on the logs that I received on the 1st and the 7th, but I could address that on record.
Okay, so this one you don't.
And this one is the commissary? I do not.
Okay. Your counsel had said no objection to this one before, so nice if you guys are on the same page. Back to the business records, don't forget the jail calls that actually show the call parents.
Is your son around here where I can blow up?
Up there, I would know. There's some back there. There's a plug here, but you would need a really long extension cord to make it here.
Miss Dara, can I see that last exhibit on the jail calls?
These are the 2 that the defense brought.
It's not a big one.
Okay, so then it's the little one right on top.
All right. Are you all ready to go?
Yes, sir.
Before we go further, one of the exhibits that you introduced today, the updated jail calls, when we were on break earlier, I noticed that Ms. Jones-Cummings had forwarded some attachment because of problems with my computer in Chambers right now. I could not open it, but I just did now. And I see there updated call logs, Mr. Rosa, that go up to the 10th?
The
or so?
12th.
The 12th?
Yes, it's from the 7th to the 12th.
Right. I'm not going to consider anything that you don't put in front of me, but I think that's something that I'd like to see.
And I will be introducing those. And,
Okay, that's fine. That's all I need to know.
and the important thing, Your Honor, is that we do have, and the detective will testify to the phone numbers for the father and for the grandmother.
Okay.
And those numbers are on those particular jail logs.
Very good.
And I'll address my concerns on the record now.
Wonderful. Okay. Thanks, Ms. Tara. So you let me know when you're ready, Mr. Riello, and we'll call your next witness.
I would like to recall Corporal Wims, Your Honor.
All right, let's go ahead and do this on the screen. All right, Corporal Williams, are you still with us? He might be at a lunch break. Anybody got a telephone number for Corporal Williams? That'd be awesome. Thank you very much.
Hi, good afternoon, Judge. This is Pat Jones-Cummings. I just called over and asked them to have them to log back in.
Thank you very much, Ms. Jones-Cummings. We'll stand by for you.
Okay, thank you.
And Your Honor, may I just let the court know Dr. Bedica is in the courtroom? She's sitting in the back. I understand Your Honor let Ms. Orozco on.
No, I think I can have a problem with them being excused from the rule. Somebody let me know when you have good back on the screen. Can you give me a sense of your lineup today after Corporal Williams, Mr. Miller?
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
Can you give me a sense of your lineup of who you'll be calling today?
After Corporal Wims?
Yes, ma'am.
We believe that we might be able to get Counselor Maldonado,
Good.
and I will be calling Dr. Bedica, Ms. Orozco, and the defense expert, Dr. Coopers.
Okay. Are there any written reports provided by any of these?
No, Your Honor.
What about a CV from an expert that we didn't know about?
I do have a CV, and Ms. Morales, the reason that you didn't know about Dr. Coopers is because we didn't know about Dr. Coopers. So I do have a CV for Dr. Coopers. And I believe he's on the platform, Your Honor.
That's fine. Now would be a good time for you to provide the CV to your opposing counsel.
Yes, sir. Normally, Your Honor, before an expert would testify, the state would have an opportunity to at least depose them or do something of that nature for cross-examination purposes.
Usually. But, I mean, how many argument hearings have you been through where witnesses get to stand without having to depose?
Not usually an expert, Your Honor.
Got it. All right, we'll take a look at it.
This CV's here, I hope this. Well, maybe everything else. What about professionalism? Yeah.
Do you have Counselor Maldonado present, or are you going to try them on Zoom as well?
Counselor Maldonado will be on the platform, on the Zoom platform.
And when do you expect?
We should know within the next 20 minutes. Maybe 30, but we could always call her out of
All
order.
right, I've got witness back now. And apparently Dr. Coopers is logging in as well. All right. You want to inquire of Corporal Williams?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Corporal Williams, you've previously been sworn. I'm going to allow me to ask you some more questions, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, go ahead now.
Good afternoon, Corporal. My name is Dayla Riello, and I represent Derek Rosa. Have we ever met before, sir?
I'm sorry, man, I didn't hear anything you said.
Okay, good.
With the Zoom platform here and this physical setup in this courtroom, you got to make sure you're speaking into the microphone. It's just part of being a 60-year-old building.
Good afternoon, sir. Can you hear me now?
Yes,
My name is Dayla Riello, and I represent Derek Rosa. How are you this afternoon?
I'm doing all right.
Have we ever met before, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
We have met before?
Yeah.
In what?
I escorted you after your visit with Rosa. I escorted you to visitation.
And was that visitation room across from the control panel?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you remember all the cables and metals in that room?
I'm sorry, one more time?
Do you remember all of the cables and metals in the room that you escorted me to?
You say, do I remember all the what? The Caden metals?
Cables, sir. Cables.
Cables.
Yes, cables.
I really cannot hear what you're saying now.
Should we type it for him, Your Honor? I'm on the platform. Can you type? I'm going to ask my colleague to type the question. Maybe
Now, you're asking about cables and metals.
Yeah.
Where?
in the visitation room
In the visitation
that
room.
Corporal Wims escorted me to.
Tables and metals?
Cables, sir. Cables.
No, I don't remember any cables.
Do you remember anything in the room other than plastic chairs?
You're talking about the room that you had your meeting in, or the visitation booth that I escorted you to?
I'm talking about the room that I had my meeting in, sir,
With Rosa.
with Derek Rosa across from the control panel in the Unit 12 wing. I think that's what it's called.
Okay, no, I remember the chair. There's
Okay.
2 chairs in there. There's a visitation screen for like a Zoom visitation.
Right.
And, yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I believe that's it.
Okay. There was no metal table, not a metal table, I'm sorry. There was no table with public defender insignia on it?
No, I don't believe so. Not that I can remember.
And there was no removable monitor on top of that table?
Monitor. No, I'm sorry. Well, I don't want to say no, but I'll just say I don't remember that being in there.
Okay.
I know we normally keep a table, 2 chairs, and then there's a screen connected with a phone, and there may be a table in there at some point or not. That's about it that goes into that visitation room.
And just to be clear, you've only escorted me one time with my client, right?
Yeah, I escorted you from that room to the visitation area where you would have exited.
Okay, thank you, sir. Now, I just want to clarify a couple of things. You are the SMU administrator, right? Corporal.
Yes, ma'am.
And I think you mentioned on the 1st of December that you've been employed or with the force for 14 years, is that so?
Yes, ma'am.
And how many rankings did you have to go through to get to corporal?
Just one officer, then corporal.
How many years did you spend as an officer?
Repeat.
How many years did you spend as an officer?
10. 9 going into 10.
As a corporal, how many individuals, staff-wise, do you oversee at Metro West?
I'm not a rater, that's what we call it, over any of the actual staff members at Metro West. I just oversee the 2 areas.
And how many individuals, how many staff are in those 2 areas that you oversee?
Once again, I oversee the area. So the actual individual officers, there's a area supervisor that works in those areas that oversee the actual staff.
So, for example, on November 10th, when you gave the order, according to the activity logs, that Rosa was to go on watch tour, everybody followed that order, right?
Yes.
Okay, so how many people have to follow your orders?
Well, the officers that work in the area, once I get what would you call it? Once I get I guess you say, order from my administration leaders, then basically I will pass that order down to the day shift, the afternoon shift, as well as the midnight shift.
And how many individuals, staff, and if you don't know, sir, it's perfectly fine to say you don't know. I'm trying to gauge.
Well, no, I'm just letting you know that as far as being the supervisor over the officers that work in the area, there are area supervisors that work in SMU that oversee the individual staff, the officers for that area.
So on November 10th, when Rosa was directed by you to go on watch tour, which I think you testified are digitalized logs, right?
Mm-hmm.
How many people had to comply with that order? How many staff?
So it would have been that one officer that's sitting on that individual.
How many people do you, sir, have to, I guess, can give you orders?
This is defense.
I mean, anybody can give me an order. I'm just a correctional corporal too. So any SEAL 3, 4, 5, you know, if somebody gives me a direct order, I have to follow it out.
Okay. Now, you testified earlier you don't know the mission statement of Metro West, right?
You say the mission statement for the department?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, what?
What are you asking me? Do I know that we have a mission statement, or you want me to say it?
Both. Do you know if you have one, and if so, what is it?
Yeah, we have a mission statement. Oh man, you really put me on the spot right now. It's been a while. We, the Miami-Dade County Corrections and Rehabilitation Department. It's been such a long time now. I probably need to read that, to be honest with you, but
No
you know,
problem.
we definitely have a mission statement.
Okay. Now, do you know the creed, or like right when you walk into your building, the big, huge letters right above the check-in counter? Do you know what that says?
Please speak clearly, man. I'm sorry, I really cannot hear what you're saying.
When you walk into Metro West, the huge letters right above the check-in counter, do you know what those say?
Oh, no. Where I enter is just a side gate. We have an employee entrance.
You've never entered through the front.
And not looked at no signs or anything like that. No, ma'am. I know it says Metro West Detention Center.
Your Honor, I'm going to object to relevance.
Your Honor, I'm trying to there's a lot of testimony. I'm trying to get some clarification as to exactly what Corporal Wims knows. I want to get into these logs.
Ma'am, okay, so how does the mission statement and the creed, I think you referred to it?
Well, Judge,
How does that take us into the logs, ma'am? Why don't we just look at the logs?
Well, Judge, it says regardless of the circumstances, all persons in custody are expected to be treated fairly and humanely. I think
we all endorse that.
okay. I'd like to know if Corporal Wims has ever read that, if he knew that that was printed in huge
Move on to your next
letters.
question, ma'am. You want to go to the logs, let's go to the logs. I'd like to do things that actually inform me and this record about how your client is being treated under this form of detention. That's what is at issue here, not whether Corporal Wims is looking at the foyer of the jail.
Okay.
Thank you.
Fair, Your Honor. Speaking of how my client's being treated, Corporal Wims, do you know what Chapter 985 requires of Metro West in terms of the supervision of Derek Rosa?
No, ma'am.
Now, do you have any idea why the logs from 25 days that we've been provided do not reflect and in fact contradict the testimony that you gave on the 1st of December and the testimony that you gave today?
I'm going to object to the form of that question, Your Honor.
One second, Corporal Wims.
If she's impeaching him, it's improper form of impeachment.
Okay, yeah, you're going to need to lay out what it is that you believe is inconsistent and ask him about that. If you would
No problem, Your Honor.
sustain.
Corporal Wims, do you remember testifying about the amount of times that Derek has gone to school?
So you testifying for how many times? What now?
Derek has gone to school.
Can I,
Yeah.
just in the interest of time, give me 1 second, Corporal, just in the interest of time, okay? Corporal Williams, I'm not seeing notations on your 10-minute logs required by Chapter 985. I'm not seeing any notations on your logs indicating when he's going to school. Why is that?
Those indications should be.
One second. Is that okay?
It's inaccurate.
That's where you're going?
It's inaccurate, but I get the point, Your Honor. Yes.
Thank you very much. Now we're at the point. How come it's not in your logs, Corporal Williams?
Those indications should be on the 15-minute check sheets. Because when he would come out and go to class, it would be notated that he's out to school, or it'll say school.
Let me
or
stop you
something.
for a second. You're talking about your intervals check sheet, physical site check sheet that you're all,
Yes, sir.
and you're supposed, you call it a 15-minute log, but the statute requires 10 minutes.
It's 10, 15, and 30. At the top of it, it should indicate 10, 15, and 30.
Do you have those handy?
I have one in here. Give me 1 second. Oh.
We can also share it with him, Your Honor.
Beg your pardon?
I said we can also screen share it with him.
Yeah, I want to pick a day. Let's find a weekday, because I agree with you, I'm not seeing them in here either.
So you're saying like any of them, or a
Well, let's pick
weekday?
a weekday just at random, okay? How about November 7th?
Okay, well, Judge, let me say this. If November 7th is a Tuesday,
Yes.
if it's not notated on the 10-minute check sheet that school, is because that the Dade County School, public school system didn't pull him for school that day. Like I said earlier, they dictate when the inmate goes to school and what they do for school purposes. Corrections isn't like responsible for that. We just make sure that the juvenile inmate comes out, he's dressed, he's prepared to do whatever it is that they ask him to do.
What would I see on your physical site check sheet that would indicate that he is in school?
It would say school,
All right.
say school, or,
You have the check sheets there?
yeah, I have someone with you.
Can we look at November 9th, Your Honor?
Now, let's start with November 17, a Friday, and work our way back.
Okay.
Because I don't see anything on November 17th, sir. And now I'm looking at November 16. I'm assuming I would see this sometime between 0900 and 1400 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Yep, I would
Be in
think so. I don't see any on the 16th.
I mean, all due respect, Judge, if you guys want the school records for Derek Rosa, it's the public school board.
Corporal, I guess the question I'm having that I want to know is, when I look at these logs, they're not telling me he was in school. Are these the way I should find out when he's in school?
The way you will find out will be from the Miami-Dade County School Board, but it should be indicated if he left his room to go to school, it should be indicated on this 10-minute check sheet.
I would think so, but I'm not seeing it as I scroll through your work here. And I've now looked at the 17th, 16th, 15th.
Your Honor, look at the 14th. The first one I just opened. I see an indication. I think
Your Honor, there's two indications.
Now, I do have on the 14th from 8:55 hours to 9:46 hours.
Your Honor, may I just recap so we don't have to? There's only two indications of school, and that's where I was trying to go. Corporal Williams.
Okay.
One-
Yeah, the only indications I'm seeing for that entire week are a 90-minute period. So I want to know, is that consistent? Is he being put out in school only 90 minutes a week?
I honestly cannot tell you that. That will be something that we will have to sit down with the teachers with, and they will be able to give me the logs for when Mr. Derek Rosa went to school.
Okay.
You know, I can comb through these check sheets, and you know, I can let you know like what each and every one say, but it's not up to corrections to say, okay, Rosa hasn't been to school in 4 days. He needs to come out today.
I'll make that. I'll be the one who makes that decision, sir. All right. Move on to your next area with Corporal Wims, if you would, Mr. Roy.
Yes, Your Honor. Corporal Wims, would you agree that Derek's case is somewhat of an extraordinary case, extraordinary situation for Metro West?
I guess so. I wouldn't say it's like a, you know, I'm pretty sure what Michael Hernandez is kind of similar.
Now, other than Michael Hernandez, first of all, was Michael Hernandez 13 years old?
I think he was 14.
Okay. And Michael Hernandez seemingly had wonderful grades, zero behavioral issues, seemingly wonderful family, accused of first-degree murder of a parent.
I mean, I have no idea. I just know he was a younger juvenile that we had in our custody.
Did you personally oversee?
Oh, no.
What was your position? What was your role at that time?
Mike Hernandez, what year was that?
6. I couldn't tell you. Either way, I'll move on. Now, given that Derek's case is somewhat of an extraordinary well, let me say this. You testified that he was a high profile, right?
Yeah, he's a high profile inmate based off of, you know, our criteria.
Okay.
High media coverage, you know, this coverage, any kind of, I would say like, you know, publicized coverage, consistent publicized coverage. You know, we may see fit that, you know, he be placed in some kind of protective like custody to make sure that he's safe.
You also said on Friday the 1st that he was somewhat more vulnerable because of his high profile status, right?
You say what now?
You testified on Friday the 1st of December that he was somewhat more vulnerable because of his high profile status. Do you remember that?
I just know this, with him being a, you know, high publicized inmate, him having the charges that he's accused of having, from a safety and security standpoint, we would do our best to make sure that that individual is housed appropriately and that, you know, we're going to do our best to make sure he's not harmed and make sure that, you know, he's secure.
Wouldn't your best be knowing what the statute requires you to do? Wouldn't that be step one?
That may be now, but, you know, at this current time, the spotlight, I don't know what that statute that you're referring to will be, but, you know, I know this, that with Mr. Rosa, we're doing everything that we can to house him appropriately and make sure that he's not harmed or hurt and make sure that he gets everything that he needs to get.
Wouldn't step two maybe be review the logs that you so confidently testified to?
Well, like I said, those logs are reviewed, but they're also filed away, and there's a lot of 10-minute check sheets that we have going into with Mr. Rosa and the juvenile population. So, you know, being put on that spotlight right now with that's probably something that we will assign somebody to do in the near future.
That's great. How many times have you testified in court, sir?
This would be my second time, the first being my first.
So the 1st of December was the first time you testified under oath?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you understand what that meant?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained. Unless you have some reason to believe he doesn't understand what his oath means in this courtroom now.
Wouldn't you think that it would be important to be truthful while under oath?
Again, objection, Your Honor.
Overruled. Go ahead.
You may answer the question, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am, you hear me, or yes, ma'am, you would think it's important to be truthful? And
Yes, ma'am. I mean, you're on the oath. Yes, ma'am.
So why would you lie to my
It's
colleague?
important. It's important to always be truthful.
Okay, why would you lie to
Ma'am,
Mr.
before you go
Lewis?
ahead and start accusing a witness of lying, why don't you lay out in questions what you believe you're trying to prove here, if you would.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Do you remember on Friday the 1st, Corporal Williams, when you were asked two specific questions, one being Derek Rosa's level of security? Do you remember that question?
No, ma'am. Refresh my memory if you can.
You were on Zoom. I was also on Zoom. And my colleague was here present in the courtroom. One of the first questions he asked you was, what is Derek Rosa's level of security?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what means, sir. Do you remember being asked that question?
No, ma'am.
Do you remember someone being in your office when you answered that question?
Yeah, I remember being in my office. I'm in my office for the whole testimony.
Do you remember somebody else, a female, being in your office when you answered that question?
I clearly tried to clear this up for you. I'm not sure if you were listening or, the gentleman that was questioning me was listening, but literally we were in this whole testimony thing for hours. Someone dropped off a plate of food for me and they left the room. As far as coaching me up and being present and all this other stuff, I'm not sure what drew you to that conclusion, but ma'am, you're wrong.
Well, sir, you've testified to coaching. I haven't mentioned coaching at all.
Once again, I'm not sure where you get that from, ma'am, but someone brought me something to eat, if that was okay for you.
My question is, do you remember that person being in your office when you testified to Derek Rosa being a level 2?
I remember someone bringing me something to eat, ma'am.
Well, you don't remember at what point?
I remember someone bringing me something to eat.
Is that a no, sir?
I'm strictly telling you that I remember someone bringing me something to eat while I was doing this testimony.
Do you remember that person giving you the answer and then you relaying the answer to Mr. Lewis?
Once again, ma'am, someone brought me something to eat and left the room.
Sir, it's a yes or no. I'm not asking you about your food. I'm not asking you when you ate.
So I'm answering that question by telling you that someone brought me something to eat and left the room. If there was any kind of coaching that you assume happened, then that would be no.
I'm not asking you about coaching. I'm asking you
I'm going to say it has been
specifically.
answered, Your Honor.
It has not been answered, Judge. It's a yes or no question. If he can't answer it, just say I can't answer that question.
I kind of feel like you're not listening to what I'm saying.
All right, that's it.
Okay?
As I get it, ma'am, it says somebody dropped him off some food.
Okay.
Let's move on from here.
Actually, Your Honor, may I take a 1 minute, can we go side by real quick, please?
Okay, on the record, please.